July 31st, 2014, in an MLB trade deadline news, we have a huge blockbuster trade between the Oakland Athletics and the Boston Red Sox, as the Boston Red Sox have sent their ace pitcher Jon Lester to Oakland, along with outfielder Jonny Gomes, for Yoenis Cespedes of the Oakland Athletics. And Yoenis Cespedes, as fans know, has won the home run derby back-to-back years. He is quite the outfielder there in Oakland. So one of the top pitchers, one of the top left-handers in baseball, is now moving teams, moving from the East Coast to the West Coast, as the Red Sox have traded Jon Lester. And on the season, Jon Lester had an ERA of 2.52 with a record of 10-7. Of course, with that ERA, his record should be better than that, but he hasn't been getting much run support, as the Red Sox have been having an abysmal year. They won the World Series last year, as they went from worst to first. They won it all, and now they've gone from first to worst, as they're now in last place in the AL East. They're 13 games back, whereas the Oakland Athletics are in first place in the West by 2.5. They've got the Los Angeles Angels nipping on their heels, as they're just 2.5 games back. And they're looking at pitching. They added Jeff Schmarston not that long ago. They traded for him when they got Schmarston back on the 5th of July, the beginning of the month. And then this morning they made two trades. First, the trade to acquire Jon Lester to shore up that pitching staff, as they're definitely making a run for the World Series and hopefully deep in the playoffs. As Lester actually has a 2.11 ERA in the playoffs. He's also tied for the most playoff wins as a Red Sox with 6 playoff wins, along with Pedro Martinez and Kurt Schilling, the other 2 Red Sox that have accomplished that feat. And last year in the World Series, Jon Lester only allowed 1 earned run in 15 innings, 15 plus innings. In his 2 starts, only 1 earned run. So Jon Lester is a big time pitcher. Everyone knows that, and he's a big time playoff pitcher, as he is very clutch when it comes down to the postseason and into October and even into November, as the World Series almost stretches, not quite, but deep into October anyway. So yeah, the Oakland A's send Yoenis Cespedes, and that's a big pickup for the Red Sox. This trade is good for both sides. Of course, Lester, he's only going to be with the A's for the next 2 months, and then he becomes a free agent. So we'll see how that actually pans out. It'll pan out, good if they can win the World Series for sure. But Yoenis Cespedes is going to Boston, and on the season, Yoenis Cespedes has a 256 average, along with 17 home runs and 67 RBI. He's actually a career 262 hitter, but he's an up-and-comer. He's got power, and he's only 28 years old, so he can be in a Red Sox uniform for a long time to come. So we saw, back about 15 years ago, the Red Sox, about 15 years ago, the Red Sox, when they acquired Manny Ramirez from Cleveland, and he was about at a similar point in his career. I think Cespedes might be younger than Manny was. I have to check that out. Cespedes isn't quite the pure hitter for average that Manny is, but he's definitely one of the best hitting outfielders that's out there in baseball when it comes to average, when it comes to the power, when it comes to home runs and RBI, and hopefully his average can increase, because he should be hitting next to Big Papi in the Red Sox lineup. And something the Red Sox have definitely needed this year is usually they have a pretty potent offense, but they've been struggling to get run support, and the Red Sox have been trading off all their pitchers as of late. The other player, the Red Sox actually sent an outfielder, Jonny Gomes. Jonny Gomes was an integral part of the 2013 Red Sox World Series team. They were like the fear of the beard. He was one of those bearded players. He's brought a lot of attitude, because he is definitely a workhorse. He's one of those Charlie Hustle type players, like Pete Rose back in the day, except he's not gambling on baseball, but he's a hustler. And so Jonny Gomes, he's got a 234 average on the season with 6 home runs and 32 RBI. But Jonny Gomes, He's 33 years old. You can't measure necessarily Jonny Gomes' value in the stats, just an average. Anyway, like I said, the intangibles that he brings, he's got a 329 on base percentage and a 354 slugging percentage, which makes the 683 OPS. He plays really hard out in the outfield. He has good defense. And earlier in the day, the A's actually traded Tommy Malone to Minnesota for Sam Flood, who's also an outfielder. So looks like the Oakland A's might be using Sam Flood and Jonny Gomes to kind of go back and forth as a substitute for Yoenis Cespedes going to Boston. Sam Flood has a 263 average on the season with 2 home runs and 21 RBI. Of course, that's in 60 games that he's played, and that's 194 at bats. He has a 356 on base percentage, along with a 366 slugging percentage for a 722 OPS. So Sam Flood, he's pretty good. He's not the shape stick yet. He's a solid, player there for Oakland. So Oakland making some good moves as they're shoring up their team and looking to make a playoff run. Boston picks up a nice piece for the future as they're going to be looking to kind of rebuild. They've got a good farm system. They've kind of gutted their pitching staff as already Jake Peavy's been traded, and now Jon Lester, and the trade deadline has still got more than 3 hours left. And now the news just came in. John Lackey has been traded to the Cardinals. That's just happened. Literally, when I started recording this, that had not happened yet. But now, as I am speaking, the news just in: John Lackey traded to the St. Louis Cardinals. Let me see if I can find any more information on that. So the Red Sox have gutted their pitching staff. They've traded 3 of their pitchers now.